You're welcome back to the Pulse on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Now, let's get more on that report by the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana. Daniel Amato is a senior research fellow joining us via Skype for more on this particular issue. Thank you, sir, for joining us. I guess we'll begin with the very striking finding in your report that the northern region will be that region where there is the probability, the biggest probability of violence after the declaration of the polls. Did the respondents in this survey indicate the factors for which this might happen?
Well, actually, let me say thanks for the opportunity first before I go into the details of this whole thing. As you are aware, this is more or less an opinion poll, so we did not go into that aspect of trying to find out what is informing that kind of position that they hold. What we did was to look at the responses that came from the question as to whether at the end of the count of ballot and declaration of results there is going to be violence. And as we have been told already, we had about 44% of the respondents thinking that way. So we try to understand where these responses are coming from, and that is how come Northern Region came up top. But if I take you back to the contest that we presented as some of the issues that were happening prior to and during the time we were out there collecting data, you will clearly see that even during the vote transfer exercise, we had so much confrontation leading to even gunshots in some parts of the northern region. We have had so many challenges, even with the voter exhibition over there too as well. So if you look at the context, then you understand that people are experiencing certain things within that region, and that is why they are having this fear. Because for me, if they are seeing a situation where we are just maybe undertaking vote transfer exercises, resulting in gunshots and the rest, they will not be wrong to have this kind of notion that if at the end of the election and results are announced, violence is going to break out. So even though we did not ask them, looking at these contests, you come to understand where these responses are coming from and why they are having that kind of apprehension.
Okay, so based on this finding you find in your report, what do you see to do now? Because clearly, for anyone looking at this report and seeing the comments coming from the northern region, in terms of security, it's a big matter. How does the CDD intend using this information to help our security agencies get to the bottom of this?
Let me say that on two fronts. One of the reasons why we undertook these two surveys in July and October is just to help civil society organizations and election watchdog organizations to target their interventions and activities relating to some of these issues by looking at the survey findings. So for us, we believe institutions like us that are handling election education programs, maybe the NCCE and others, will come in and then start speaking to the people in this region. Apart from that, we also have a system where after collecting this information, we invite key stakeholders. We call it a confidential briefing. And so we have had a confidential briefing where the police was represented, the army was represented, the fire service, the prisons, the customs. These are the security organizations in the country that are part of the election security task force. Clear? And so we have presented these findings to them, and we know they are also undertaking their own processes and projects, and they are also doing some kind of mapping out these kind of violence-prone areas. So we believe with this kind of information, they may be able to do their target interventions very well. And so that is what, as far as CDD we are concerned, this is how far we can go. We are calling on other institutions. So not only CDD that is doing these voter education programs and the rest, but others are also involved. So they can also look at the findings and then start handling these issues at these locations so that at the end of the polls, we all have our peace.
Okay. Now, one thing also that I found in the snippets of the reports we have is that respondents prefer free and fair elections as against their preferred candidates winning. First of all, let me ask, what was the question posed to them and how did you arrive at this conclusion?
Well, this type of question, we normally call it false choice question. We present two statements to the respondent and we ask them to choose one of the two and then tell us whether they agree with the one that they have chosen strongly or just agree. So for the question that we are referring to, we asked that we presented two statements. One was asking them whether they would prefer the election to be free and fair if even their candidate loses. And then the other was more or less like an opposite, a situation where they don't care whether it is free and fair so far as their candidate will win. And we had majority say they prefer free and fair elections if even their candidate turn out to be the loser. So that is the nature of the question.
Okay, and for these questions and the responses they give you, with your experience, CDD, in the kind of research you do we know why they are looking strongly in that direction of free and fair over their candidates winning?
Please, can you come again? The last part of your question wasn't so clear to me.
Okay, I'm actually asking Mr. Amato that for this question on whether they preferring free and fair elections as against their preferred candidates winning, did they adduce reasons for it?
No. Like I said, this is an opinion poll, so we don't normally ask for reasons. But in fact, if you go through the entire slide, you will also see that issues surrounding peacefulness of the elections seem to come up with high percentages. So like my colleagues said in the presentation, it appears to us that Ghanaians are peace-loving and so they are willing to sacrifice free and fairness. For instance, I heard my colleague saying in your intro, you were playing the part that he said, yes, Ghanaians want free and fair election, if even peaceful election, if it is not entirely free and fair. And she even made a remark that for those of us working in an institution like CDD, it's a bit worrying to us because the free and fairness would definitely lead to peacefulness. And so if people would want to see a situation where they want peacefulness, but they don't think so much about free and fair, it's a bit worrying. It sounds to be a good news to us. Yes, it's good for people to say they want peaceful elections. So we all know that if at the end of the election, even if they see it not to be free and fair, they will not be willing to engage in things that will create violence and confusion and conflict in the country. But the point is we should be working towards people asking for free and fairness of elections. And so when we get that free and fairness, definitely the end product will be that we will have that peacefulness we are also looking for. So you look at the entire presentation, this come up strongly that people are interested in peacefulness. And so we never ask for reasons why they hold that impression that if even it is peaceful and their candidate is losing and it is not entirely free and fair, they will accept it. We did not ask for reasons, but throughout the presentation, you can sense the mindset of those who were giving these responses, why they are having that position.
Okay. Now, based on what we've just looked at, and these are just elements of the entire survey you've done, what are the recommendations of your organization, especially considering that we're just some 20 days to go to the elections? What do we do?
Yeah, in fact, one major recommendation that we made at the end of the survey was that when you look at the survey, the police and the Ghana Armed Forces came top when it comes to what people think these institutions are prepared for the elections. And that is the kind of positive opinion about these two institutions and the level of trust that people have in them. So mentioned that for them to uphold what citizens have in them in terms of their fairness and all those things, they should at all times make sure when they are responding to maybe.
Okay, since we've lost Daniel Ama-Ato there, but I guess the point has been made about the key findings in the survey and what needs to be done, especially for the security agency. Still staying with election-related issues here on the Pulse. There's one constituency that will be an interesting one to look at in this year's elections. I'm talking about the name I struggle to mention all the time, Ododo Diodo. It's in the Greater Accra region. It's one of the constituencies where we've already seen some issues, and we heard from Madam Ifeatinge, they're already investigating an issue of clashes between supporters of the NDC and the MPP. So how is the ground shifting and in whose direction? What will be the issues that would determine who the people of this constituency vote for in this year's parliamentary elections? Well, Maxwell Araba has been to the constituency and has come through with these findings.
The Jamestown community forms an integral part of the Dio constituency, with tidal waves wreaking havoc on some parts of the coastal line here. And we're interested to find out how that would influence the choice of voters in the upcoming elections. It would also be interesting to know how the cost of premixed fuel and outboard motors would affect the choices that voters make here in this constituency. Would the NPP's promise of a coastal development authority increase their chances here in this constituency?
MPP nyero feel ko awo shin wota NDC no kwa abe sam mene ke watch muslim 8 years here je ku fo wata no aloje 8 years ku fo ba 8 years e bata no nye feel ko awo e gete edwo mo bi ene enye fi abon awo ni NDC ewie aga mbaba nya kamba mbadu ame ye 4 years banya feel ko ame awo ye onutumuni ai bua am ga bomboto ba amadira bomboto ame awo fe show no board wo hi wo ko watch on no match come and this banye fe no ko yawo GMPP mo this no banye okia
o shige no no wa adu mo no kwa fo shige fi ya wonta o tu enjole ya mana mi fe gidi ke basa ke ni bi fe o sumo aka ko aba ya ogbe fangbe shi wonta o tu enjole o ka ji aka mi twage o mo ti ade ka no a votu e lebo ko nyungo pe jinuni ji moni o ka noni ji enyo fiage noni ngbashi no ji efiage wo impini wo yen mane e bomode wa ojogban tumo boni mbla wi abomboto ne sane ne abomboto efiage inteje pomoto sini ya igwe 120 million sheik ma 60 million kemi bu akunte jami ne ke 60 million nka pay school fees mbi ya university nka pay school fees we cover me wa denche woni bone e cover me
This dilapidated structure is the old Salaga market. Several decades after it was closed down for renovation, it has not seen even the shadows of the market women who used to do brisk business here. The Salaga market has been the talking point of this campaign. The two leading political parties, the NDC and the NPP, are promising to renovate this market when they are voted into power. It is likely to be the main thing that would drive voters and influence their choice in the upcoming elections.
Almost 19 years now. Na jiwa ka baga shi wa tabi ne street no water. Na jiwa ka watabi ne. Na me ha 6 months na ga shi ka me bag be na aka wa bote inside. She 1 year me 19 years na one na ko. Every occasion I was about Sani. We be no last weekend I was at London. Simona Amajala.
No, I can buy a new small.
Once Monica forget a full fence wall. Namquama, Nidig Slade Zingle. I can water a water, but Nimokola can be found. She can water. E ba dissolve market kula ka wa ba pe ko le ba fet nku pa no wa je ni nshi ko
no bi e kan mo na ta bi e fi o
kan mo na ta wo bi e ta wo bi e wo e problem aju wo insista na e ko ba aju afi 20 times ka je na ele ne kan bi e ba cho bi ane jala afi ta no machine
bi ane yo di time bi ane ke wonu nta ni ba yi ni kokwe ameso I can buy Nyame.
And what is an MP and Etano? Me, Yabimoko, Yabi Unupakoni, Peta MP, the Gashi, anytime ni Ambafe, me Babani, about Tashkani, and I will come at Yamabadon. She this time around, Snit become a woman, Akshabafi, a man. No, Ben, no, I'm a Bashi, walk over London, nothing.
Right, so that's from Odododio. Just a brief excerpt of the reports we'll bring you on how things are shaping up. You hear some of the fishermen talking about premix being an issue that they will look at in deciding who they vote for. But this is part of a bigger program we're doing called Battleground. It airs on Joy 99.7 FM from 7:05 to 8 o'clock. I have the details, but the best person to tell us is the deputy head of our political desk here at Joy News, Malik Abazda, who is the host of that show. He joins me now. Malik, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Francis.
And I always say it that you are
Not
the man
today.
who eats,
Not
sleeps, all the adjectives you can find. You do it with politics.
My head is growing big.
Really? Let me check. No, it's not. But tell me something. For Battleground, the maiden edition was yesterday. What constituency did we look at and what were the issues?
Okay, we looked at Clotte College constituency, and you know that this is a constituency in which Rawlings' daughter Zanato Rawlings is contesting. We also have the famous lawyer Philip Addison also contesting. So Zanato is the NDC's parliamentary candidate. Philip Addison is the MPP's parliamentary candidate. But we do know that in both parties there were problems during their primaries. The NDC's candidate, the NDC's incumbent MP actually sued Zanato, making arguments that at the time that she contested the constituency primaries, she was not qualified to contest that and all of that. So we looked at the dynamics and what the issues are for the voters, what are the considerations. Yourself, you went there, you spoke to the people, what their concerns are, what would determine who they vote for. Of course, one of your the people you talked to raised an issue about the late Ivaloko, who was the PPP's parliamentary candidate and all of that. So what we did generally was look at what the issues are in this constituency, what the history has been, and make a projection as to what the future is likely to be. Who among the two candidates, in fact, three of them, because there is a former chairman of the MPP in this constituency who won the first round of the MPP's parliamentary elections, primaries, and then the second one was organized because there were problems with the first one. Addison actually didn't contest because he said notice was not properly given, so he went to court. There was an order for them to rerun that primary. When they rerun it, Addison won. The guy who won the first one lost, and I'm talking about Ninoy Noti. Now he is contesting as an independent in this constituency, so the dynamics are quite keen. And what we are doing with Battleground is looking at those keen constituencies where the competition is very keen, with very interesting characteristics, very interesting historical background and historical antecedents. Those are the things that we are looking with this new show. And today we are looking at the Odododio constituency. This is the constituency I call the Battle of the Nilantes, because the NDC's parliamentary candidate, who is also the incumbent MP for this constituency, is Nilante van der Poy. The MPP's parliamentary candidate is Nilante Bannerman. Both of them come from the same home. So it's a battle of the Nilantes, and you know that this is one constituency which has very interesting dynamics. It's been won by both parties before. It always generates a lot of heat during elections. So it's important to have an in-depth look at what is happening in this constituency as we head into the elections. Right.
So that's just a wrap of what to expect. But tonight, what makes Battleground uniquely different from what we know in the system?
Well, a lot of the time because of the constraint of time and space, when the media houses cover these elections, we just touch and go. What we have decided to do is pick the critical constituencies and do an in-depth look at what is happening there, give voters in that constituency an opportunity to tell us what their problems are. So you are focusing on this constituency. And I think that we tease out all the issues. It brings clarity, informs the people, and then they can make a better choice.
So it's on from now till, I think, the 6th of December.
Absolutely.
Before we head to the polls.
So it's Monday to Wednesday. 7 to 8 every day. day.
Okay. And for those who want to be a part of the show, who would listen in but want to be a part of the show, how do they do that?
Yeah, so you can go to our Facebook page. We have put a poll on Major Online. You can go there and vote. When we start, we'll open the phone lines. On some occasions, people can call in. We will announce a WhatsApp line. People can send us their WhatsApp messages, and then we can read them, because we want the conversation to be bigger and larger and more informative.
Okay, so tonight's Battleground is on 7:05 to 8 o'clock on Joy 99.7 FM. You can listen to us on TuneIn app. TuneIn app you can find on the internet. Also, My Joy Online has a section where you can listen to our programs on Joy 99.7 FM live. You can also follow the conversation on our social media handles on Facebook and on Twitter at Joy997. Hashtag is Battleground. The other hashtag also is Election HQ. So you can be part of the show. It's new, but need I say, this is your election headquarters. Do not settle for less. Come to us for the best. And we have the best team available with years of experience to bring you compelling and relevant information in times like this when we're all preparing for the 2016 presidential and parliamentary elections. Malika Bazabu, thank you.
Thank you.
Clearly, a night to expect.
And I had a good show with you yesterday.
Certainly. There's more to come here
Absolutely.
from the election headquarters. Malika Bazabu, Deputy Head of our political desk. You can only settle for the best and not the less. Well, moving away from politics today, it's been nearly 6 years. Yes, 6 years since Ghana began oil production. But what has changed at Cape 3 Points, the landmark town that heralded the oil find in 2007? Big question, isn't it? Well, Journalist Justice Baidu has been to the village. He knew before oil exploration started to find some of the young people who had high hopes of landing jobs in this industry and to find out if Ghana's oil city or town is strike it rich or not.